Those shoes will never be able to be filled.
It was part of his DNA to rescue the weak and the needy.
A grieving city says farewell to a homegrown hero, Sergeant Dale Nix, now at rest.
A son, brother, and a friend.
A family man with an unwavering commitment to service.
Sergeant Dale Nix confronted evil so he could protect us.
Hundreds at attention with a final salute. Thousands from across the country felt called to honor a hero.
Countless stories of a man raised in the city who dedicated his life pouring back into it.
End of watch, December 30th, 2023. Thank you for your service. We have watched from here.
A promise from a department in mourning, a commitment to make sure his legacy does not fade. Sergeant Nix, a final farewell.
It's hard to overstate the emotions felt in Greensboro and across our state today. Each moment of Sergeant Dale Nix's funeral felt more impactful than the last.
A seemingly endless line of people stepped forward to honor him. They appeared committed to make sure we all knew the man they did. WFMY News 2's Amber Lake spent the day at Westover Church and captured the somber day.
The final ride for a fallen officer.
Badge 873, Sergeant Dale Nix is 1042 for the final time. End of watch, December 30th, 2023. Thank you for your service. We have watched from here.
Sergeant Dale Nix was our hero.
Sergeant Nix was transformational.
Beyond the uniform, Sergeant Nix was a husband, a father, a son, brother, and a friend.
Thousands filled Westover Church to honor the man who influenced so many.
For Sergeant Nix, there were no limits and no scripted box. He had the highest level of integrity and loyalty, always doing the right thing and bringing others along with him.
Sergeant Dale Nix was a best friend to all. Sergeant Dale Nix was a loving husband and father and of his family. And finally, Sergeant Dale Nix confronted evil so he could protect us.
Sergeant Nix was a devoted guardian of the city, a beloved family member, and a cherished friend. He was an exceptional law enforcement officer with an unwavering commitment to duty. He exemplified the true essence of selfless service and sacrifice.
An officer never forgotten, leaving wounds that will never fully heal. In Greensboro, Amber Lake, WFMY News 2.
One of the more emotional moments of the funeral was when one of Sergeant Nix's coworkers and close friends spoke directly to the officer's wife and son.
She talked about how much he loved them. She also promised to make sure they still feel that support.
He often referred to you, Will, and him being a team. You told us that he would often say, "It's us against the world." I wish you were standing where I am standing right now. I see a sea of blue. I see a sea of love. I see love, so much love. It is a glorious sight up here Let me be clear. It is now all of us against the world.
Sergeant Nix held many roles within the Greensboro Police Department. Many spoke about his time as a detective and as an advocate within the Family Victims Unit.
During it all, he made time to serve on the Honor Guard. He made an impact as a leader. He left an impression as an everyday civilian.
Because his smile would come over his face that would stretch from cheekbone to cheekbone. And that would show the only thing bigger than his smile was his heart for other people. I hope that we as a team can carry on that tradition with everybody else to show you how Sergeant Nix was his team.
And he closed by promising to carry the torch. Greensboro Police Chief John Thompson joked that Sergeant Nix became an outcast in his family when he decided to join the force. See, the fallen officer comes from a family of firefighters.
That's right. Many first responders feel the pain of losing Sergeant Nix. We spoke with a volunteer firefighter today.
Every agency right now, it's hard for the fire department, police, especially Greensboro Fire Department, due to his family being with the fire department. And
he says he finds comfort knowing that all first responders will support each other through this challenging time. He called it a bond that few truly understand.
We heard from Nix's family for the first time today. They shared a brief statement after the funeral. It reads, "On behalf of our entire family, we want to express our gratitude for all the love, support, and heartfelt gestures in honor of Dale. Thank you for sharing your memories of him and for honoring his legacy of service to this community in such meaningful ways. We thank the community again and ask for continued prayers."
And people packed the church. You don't see many empty seats in either level of the sanctuary.
Governor Cooper was among the thousands at the service today. He says he wanted to thank the family for Sergeant Nix's life of service and joins our state in mourning.
We've got brave law enforcement officers like Sergeant Nix, who's not even on the job officially, but still takes the risk and has the courage to try to stop a crime. And this is just a real tragedy.
Cooper says this is probably the hardest time ever to be an officer. He is encouraging you to take an extra moment to thank them for their service as you come across them in your daily lives. Sergeant Nix's incredible legacy led to an outpouring of support through an online fundraiser.
As of today, it's raised more than $100,000. The group hopes to hit $120,000. Many other groups have found ways to honor Sergeant Nix. The Greensboro Grasshoppers are selling game-worn jerseys. All of the money goes to the Nix family.
Another group showed its support to the department and Nix family. Medal for Valor sent this display to police headquarters. It's a sergeant's badge with a blue line across it. GPD says it plans to give it to the family.
And a nonprofit will host a memorial ride for Sergeant Nix this Sunday. Hundreds are expected to gather outside the Greensboro Coliseum. Operation Fly Our Flag organized it and plans to donate some money to the family.
Needless to say, it has been an emotional week and a half. The Nix family needed support, and boy, did this city deliver. Makeshift memorials, the candlelight vigil, and police escorts with countless onlookers wanting to pay tribute to a man who embodied the city that made him. As we learned more about Sergeant Nix and the life he led, it was easy to see he was a man worth honoring. He touched so many lives, many more than most knew about. We saw that today with the extraordinary amount of people who came out to celebrate his life and mourn Greensboro's incredible loss. It's not often we hear of a person who touched so many lives, both through his work, but also in his character. We heard during his funeral today, serving others was in his DNA. He spent his entire career helping and protecting others. May his legacy live on in the examples he set and the lives he touched. We are forever in your debt.
Chad, well said. Thank you. And flipping the page over to weather, Tim, it looks like we will have another day similar to Wednesday.
Yeah, it's true. What we are going to watch carefully, Sydney, is you remember back on Tuesday when we had all the rain and all the wind. It won't be quite that bad, but we will still have quite a lot to track for you tomorrow evening. It's hard to believe because right now it's actually cold outside. Temperatures are currently in the 30s and you will wake up to a very chilly tomorrow morning. I do want you to be a little on the cautious side. We could see some dense fog that forms right there in the first couple of hours of your tomorrow. If that happens, your windshield is probably going to be iced over. Allow a couple extra minutes. You'll have to scrape it off. Throughout the day, it warms up. We're in the 50s by the end of things, and that's why there is that risk of not only rain, but yes, the gusty winds and even a couple of stronger thunderstorms. That's the timeline. You are good to go all the way through 2 p.m. without rain. No rain before 2. After that, then you can see it rolling in. It kind of looks like a mess, right? Lots of showers, even some downpours, especially after 6 p.m. I have noticed, though, in the last couple of model runs here, we're not seeing as strong of storms popping up, and actually the winds don't look quite as bad either. I still want you to plan for gusty winds of around 35 to 45 miles per hour. That's tomorrow evening. There is still a risk of a thunderstorm, even a lower risk of a tornado in North Carolina. We'll watch it for you. We'll track it 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Tomorrow, we'll have you covered.
Yadkin County Schools is delaying school 2 hours tomorrow ahead of those cold temperatures and fog rolling in that Tim just told you about. Out of school time programs will still open at 7 a.m.
Well, much of Greensboro looked like this earlier this week. Floodwaters covered the city. Typical problem spots like Revolution Mill were not spared. With more storms expected, people in those areas are preparing right now. WFMY News 2's Nixon Norman joins us after learning how a business got ready.
That's right, Sydney. Tuesday's heavy rains flooded places like Sedgefield, Country Club, Latham Park, and Revolution Mills. I spoke with folks in all 3 of those places about their preparations for tomorrow's possible heavy rain. Folks in both Sedgefield and Latham Park say they plan on placing sandbags around the barrier of their yards in certain areas near their homes to try and minimize any flooding they may get. Although flooding was bad in Revolution Mills earlier in the week, the folks at local restaurant Cow, which is located at Revolution Mills, say they've seen worse flooding in the past.
Not as far as I know, it wasn't as bad. I know our parking lot did get flooded, but not our restaurant, thank God. But yeah, it's happened before and we just cleaned it up.
In order to prepare for tomorrow, they will be setting up equipment built to avoid flooding. It's similar to the kind of equipment Revolution Mill apartments use.
The floodgates are basically like these silver long things that get put into our door frames and they just lock in there with some screws just to keep as much water out.
I spoke with one of the residents at the apartments at Revolution Mill who says thankfully majority of the flooding occurs within the parking lot versus inside the complex.
Nixon, thank you. New tonight, Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools will go back to school much earlier this fall. The district says school will start on August 12th, which actually violates state law. The state requires schools to start on the Monday closest to August 26th. School districts can apply for waivers if they want to start early. It's not clear if the district has done so.
Investigators say a Winston-Salem woman died after an early morning apartment fire. It happened at a home on Piedmont Circle Drive around 3:30 a.m. Firefighters found 61-year-old Paulette Sanders inside. The fire started because the woman was smoking in bed.
There are new efforts tonight to try finding out what happened to a missing Triad college student. Boone police say they worked with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to digitize all documents related to Martin Roberts. You might remember the Kernersville native disappeared from App State's campus in 2016. Roberts' dad told us there are about 8 notebooks worth of material related to the case, and the move will allow police to access it quicker when it gets new leads. Martin's story has been featured on multiple national TV shows. The Facebook page called Help Find Martin Roberts now has 21,000 members.
A man died during the storms in our state this week. Loved ones say he was protecting his fiancée. What those close to him said. That's next.